Don't incorporate a company in Singapore until you watch this, because every January, there's this one moment that I sit down and finalize my full year income for the previous year to report my ECI, estimated chargeable income to IRAS. This is not the forecast, but it's the actual 2025 number. And every single time, it hits differently when you see it all at once. Now, if you're self-employed or freelancing, you already know what is going to come up, and that is the tax season. So during the tax season, when you are about to report your income and pay your taxes, this is when things start feeling very real. You open your bank statements, you scroll through your PayNow, your Stripe, your PayPal, whatever. You dig out invoices. You try to reconcile the spreadsheet that you promised yourself that you will keep it tidy. Then you start to report your self-employed income. Nothing illegal, nothing wrong, but suddenly the income feels heavier. Not scary, just heavier. And that's usually when this question appears. What is this question, you may ask? And that is, should I stay a sole proprietor or should I incorporate? I see this question everywhere. Different people, same confusion. Some people ask because their income went up. Others because income tax felt painful for the first time. And then for some other people, it's when the client asks, are you a registered company? And almost everyone feels like they might already be late. Now, quick disclosure before we go further, this video is sponsored by Osome. And this fits very naturally because during the tax season, admin becomes the biggest mental load for self-employed people. You see, most people are not stuck because they cannot decide. They are stuck because they are afraid of execution and compliance. Now, let me explain why this question feels so confusing in the first place. You see, right, the problem is not about the lack of information. The problem is that most advice you see online are usually quite extreme. One side says, incorporate early, save the tax, look professional. The other side says, don't incorporate because compliance is a nightmare. Neither side talks enough about timing, and timing is everything. And just so you know, I also have a Telegram group of over 22,000 members, so you can ask your incorporation and business questions there. Join us at Honey Money SG. But let's move on to the first misconception that people have, and that is incorporation means you made it. All right, that is the biggest misconception. Like, you think about it, incorporation doesn't mean that you are successful. Okay, you have a real company, right? That's good on you. And you think that you are big, you are legit. But the true meaning is that you only change your business structure. I've seen people incorporate with unstable income and regret it within a year because they have the structure, but they do not have the stability. And that does not create freedom, it creates stress. Misconception number 2, once income is high, you must incorporate. Oh my god, this one hits the hardest in January because you think you have a very good 2025 number, you have sky high, record high, all-time high profits, and you look at the tax payable and you panic. But I can assure you that one good year does not automatically mean that you should incorporate. Maybe you just had a lucky year or you had a breakthrough. What matters more than the number is that, is the income recurring? And is it predictable? Do you expect 2025 performance to carry on to 2026? So you see, panic incorporating after a good year is how people often lock themselves into stress. Misconception number 3 is that you think incorporation automatically lowers tax. And this is a very dangerous thinking because incorporation is not a magic tax switch. If you structure it wrongly, you add complexity. You need admin. You do not actually save as much as you think you would. You see, tax optimization only works when the structure matches reality. Incorporation is a tool, not a hack. It is not a magic switch. You will need some planning, you will need some strategy, so there's more work involved than just simply incorporating and reducing taxes. Misconception number 4, I'll figure out compliance later. And this is the silence killer because from the day that you incorporate, your compliance is ongoing already. It's not going to wait for you. The deadlines matter now. And I can assure you that all these filing and reporting mistakes cost you money and time. And this is the main obstacle that make many people fear incorporation because of the additional compliance and filing work. And honestly, that fear is valid if things are not done correctly. So maybe you may think that I'm discouraging you as a sole proprietor or self-employed person, a freelancer from incorporation. But I want to bring on another perspective, right? I want to tell you the real New Year realization. And here is what actually happens for most people. You finish reporting your self-employed income, you see the tax bill, and then you think, I didn't do anything, but this feels very uncomfortable. Like, I'm supposed to be happier, right, by earning more income, but the income tax is very worrying. Now, this feeling is not panic, it is awareness, because it is when you actually feel that your income is outgrowing your current structure. And this is an early congratulations to you, because at least you're aware. And some people, they may not even be aware of this. And this is when you need to start thinking about whether incorporation starts making sense. Now, I would say that incorporation really starts working in your favor when your income is stable and recurring, right? It's not like just one-time high 2025 income. And your clients are more corporate clients rather than individual consumers, because corporates, they are expected to pay more. They have a higher budget and they can pay better for your projects or your campaigns. And most importantly, secure your invoices and your retainer contracts. All these are recurring income that is expected for the next year, right? You don't just want to make one time off income. You want to make recurring income, and you want a separation between personal and business risk. And that is one very important aspect of incorporation. You're thinking beyond just this year, right? You're thinking at a holistic scope. And at this stage, staying normal quietly costs you more over time, because there is more mental load, more risk, and less flexibility. So that's the main gist of people who should incorporate once you get everything in order and you have the income that is recurring and just want to diversify your risk. I think it is a good option. But is there a case where people should still not rush into incorporation? I think it is still important to think that if 2025 was a one-time good year, one-off, all right, you don't expect this kind of performance to, carry on to 2026, then I will feel that you don't really need to rush to incorporation. Maybe you just need another year to test out the income, like what I did in 2022 before I fully incorporated in 2023, right? You're still testing the ideas out, you're still testing your pricing structure, whether it makes sense for the client and yourself to be sustainable for the long run. So after you have considered that, then you can consider incorporation. Do not go and panic incorporate, because it may not be suitable for everyone. And waiting is not a failure. Waiting can be a smarter move if you're still unsure of your decisions. But I do want to comment about administrative work as the real blocker, because most people already know the answer deep down, right? What is stopping them from incorporation is the admin work, the additional paperwork, the deadline, the fear of penalties, the fear of doing something wrong and getting punished for it. And this is where services like Osome actually removes all this friction. Because if you can solve all these problems, then you can focus on growing your business. You take the admin part out, right? Because you just let Osome handle the incorporation properly. They will structure the compliance from day one, and they will help you reduce the mental load that stops people from acting. Now, personally, I've been using Osome for over 3 years since incorporation, and I still use them for my corporate secretary today for both my businesses. So use my link in description to get 16% off Osome services, and you can get incorporation and secretary package at 504 Singapore dollars after discount, which is so worth it in my opinion. So get incorporated with Osome today using my exclusive link down here. Now let's talk about why 2026 is a very important and pivotal year, especially when the environment is very different. And you can see around you that many people, more and more people, are earning full-time income online outside of their day jobs. They are pursuing their side hustles. They are going on a different route because their corporate jobs may not be that stable anymore. But you also have to realize that clients are more compliance aware, and the informal middle ground is shrinking. So fixing mistakes later is always more expensive than setting things up properly for the first time. Do it once, do it good, and you don't have to worry in the future. And this is also exactly why I built SoloBiz Private Limited as my second business. Not to really tell people to blindly incorporate, but to help people decide for themselves. When does it make sense? Whether it fits their income, how to structure things properly from the start. Because incorporation is not a checkbox, it is a strategy decision. Our flagship program Shift also has a free preview, so you can check it out before engaging us in the link here. It is free. Just go and watch the video and then you go and decide whether you want to work with us. For experienced business owners who need help on tax planning and how to efficiently pay themselves, we also have a consultation package that could also help you with that. So visit us at www.solobizsg.com and let us help you optimize your taxes as a business owner. So here's a reflection that you can take away. If you're watching this right after closing your 2025 numbers, maybe it was a high performance year, and you feel that there is this uneasy feeling, okay? And you think of whether you want to incorporate. It is not stress, it is clarity, because now you're more clear of the business already. But I can tell you that incorporation It's not all about celebrating a good year. It is about making the next few years easier. So don't incorporate a company in Singapore just because everyone is doing it and telling you to do it, including myself. You need to decide for yourself whether it is worth it for the effort, for the hassle, and maybe for the tax reasons. But don't avoid it just because it feels annoying. The goal is not to incorporate early, the goal is to incorporate correctly. And how to incorporate correctly, that's where you can check out my partner Osome, right? I put the link in the description because I've used them and they are very good and very effective. So that was my own personal experience. And if you also want to know how to register a company in Singapore properly, then I'll walk through you in this previous video on how to do it.